coming, the sun's zooming in, meltdown expected, the wheat is good there, engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning.
Hello everybody and welcome to the By the Minute Arsenal podcast. A mixed week this week. We've made it through, as we knew we would, to the next stage of the Europa League, and we have a draw of that, about that to chat about. And we, however, lost a couple of points to Southampton, even though it seemed at the time that we were gaining a point, given how late we scored the equaliser. We'll come to those things in turn, of course. Introductions, I'm Matt H. We also have Pete. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Matt, and a very happy Nigel Winterburn's birthday to you.
Is it? Is it today? I know you always remember these things.
It is.
Well, when I say these things, I don't mean all our old Arsenal footballers, just Nigel Winterburn's birthday.
Nutty Nige.
Well, I can remember Sylvain Wiltord's, of course, because it was exactly the same day as me. That's my little claim to Arsenal fame. And 5 years before Dennis Bergkamp, again on the same day. But that's all I can remember. But good Nigel Winterburn knowledge. We also have, fresh from a very late night out in the cold, we have Matt. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Yeah, I've made it. I'm afraid I don't know anything about birthdays, so I haven't got a cool story to share.
Your use of the word "cool" there is extremely generous. We'll take it and move on. Right, we are all fighting fit, which is more than can be said for Arsenal for some bits of this week. First of all, then, let's do some reviews. Let's look back to the Bate game on Thursday, when Arsenal actually looked in very rude health. Arsenal 6, Bate 0, 6 different goal scorers. I don't think we need to dwell hugely on this game, but we'll go through a few bits and pieces. There was a lot to like about it, really. I mean, the first thing we'll note, it'd be interesting to get your opinions on this. We'd said in the previous pod it would be lovely if it was a team of kids, for want of a better word. It wasn't. We got an idea, I think, just after we'd done the pod last week. It started coming out that the manager wanted to keep that sort of second 11 fresh, and with the possible exception of Maitland-Niles, that's what we saw, which I was mildly disappointed about myself. Pete, any thoughts on the starting 11?
Yeah, a bit disappointed, but they did what we wanted them to do, which was have fun, didn't they? So let's forgive them not going all out kids.
No, fair enough. And we wanted the fun back, didn't we? And this certainly seemed to help. Matt, any thoughts on those that starting lineup? I was mildly disappointed, but the results certainly assuaged some of that.
I guess we just have so many fringe players who are obviously very good players, Walcott, Giroud, etc. That Wenger just feels he needs to give them game time. And there seems to be a clear difference between the Premier League team and the Europa League team. There appears to be some sort of police chase outside my room.
There is very exciting.
But there seems to be a clear difference, and if he's not going to give them games in the Europa League, then there doesn't seem to be many other opportunities for them. So I guess it's understandable, but yeah, like both of you, it would have been nice to see some others maybe.
It was.
I think one of the good things about the choice, though, was playing a back four. Quite exciting, wasn't it?
Well, this is an interesting thing, isn't it? This whole and by we I don't mean us. I mean the media around Arsenal just seem to have come rather hung up on the whole formation thing, whereas actually perhaps it's all a little more fluid than we've been thinking. So there's this idea coming around that we're going to be moving more to this 4 at the back thing. But my impression is it will be changed as and when sort of required. And I think we've got the players to be reasonably flexible on it. But
yeah, but at least we didn't have Coquelin or El Neni in there. So.
Yes, exactly. The right people seem to be in roughly the right places. Yes, absolutely, which is good. Well, look, we won't go through every goal. Short and sweet version of this is Arsenal, second 11 or not, were very good, actually. And we should note over that Bate were very poor. Bate, remember, of course, did come into this with an outside chance of qualifying for the next round, but didn't look like the ones who had absolutely nothing to play for, really. 3 goals in each half, all very comfortable. I was going to suggest, rather than go through each goal, we pick our favourite goal, and if you like, and then pick one. My one's going to be the own goal. I thought that was cracking. You don't often see an own goal taken quite so well. That was Arsenal's 4th, if I remember rightly. And the ball came across, and Polyarkov just absolutely belted it past his keeper, and it wasn't even one of those that just sort of caught the post or caught the corner and just went in. Marvellous goal. I really enjoyed that one. Matt, any thoughts on a particular favourite goal or anything else about the performance, really?
I'm probably going to know the first goal. Debuchy's on. I was out, but it was on in the background of the game, and I turned around to it gone 1-0 up, and they're showing the replay. So I'm obviously looking to see who scored. And I think Walcott had it at first, so I assumed he was going to score. And as it dropped to Debussy, I was thinking, surely not. Surely not. And for him to fight one in from there was a shock for sure. But no, that's a great finish. So yeah, I'll go with that one out of pure shock.
Yes, why not? It seems like as good a reason as any. Pete, any particular favourites?
Well, Matt has stolen mine, but in which case I'll go for Wilshire's. Wilshire's was I'll go for the other one that's been a long time coming.
Yes.
It was a very nice one, taken very well with his left foot, and he'd had a shot previously, hadn't he, which I think the keeper had saved, and but it was very nice to see him very happy about it all.
It's quite good actually, because I will mention briefly the other 3 goals. I think I had a hand in a couple of them because I was doing the commentary by the minute and had criticised Theo Walcott, suggesting that his epitaph should read after he'd missed another chance. I said something like, "Here lies Theo Walcott, perhaps he should have done better," which is what I'd said about one of his attempts. And within minutes of that, he scored. I'd also been slightly unkind about El Nene's rather exuberant shooting style, and then he put a lovely one in the corner, which is very nice. And the penalty's just worth noting, just because it had to be taken twice, which seemed...
Oh, yes, that was exciting.
Yeah, so, I mean, it didn't matter. We were falling up already by that point, but I thought that was worth noting.
Although it was a bit annoying for me, because at that point, obviously, my prediction was still a possibility until Giroud away.
So, but you never want to sort of, will him to miss, do you? So
I was close.
Fair enough, I've forgotten how important the prediction thing is. So, yeah, I mean, we mentioned the 6 different scorers. The only thing I thought it was nice that David Ospina's kit matched the linings of what I can only assume are the official Arsenal Europa League, jackets for the manager and the rest of the team to wear. That remarkably bright pink. Nice. And the atmosphere, I didn't think the atmosphere sounded too bad. It does help when there's 6 goals, but given that it's possibly the lowest ever atmosphere, when it bugged me, there was a lot of stuff in the press. Lowest ever attendance, not lowest atmosphere. Lowest attendance. They still got like 30,000 people, which is a lot more than many of these teams would get for this kind of game. So that was just something I wanted to note.
Yeah, I mean, 30,000 people wanted to go.
And Aaron Ramsey, who was also there.
Yeah.
Which was jolly nice of him, given he wasn't even on the bench. Matt, anything else to say about this game in particular? About any sort of aspect?
No, it's just a bit of a turn from the way our performances had been going in Europa League. We've been seeing a lot of late goals to win it and pretty drab performances in the end, but a mixture of Arsenal playing a pretty strong team and really going for it, and a mixture of Bate being horrendous, made for a very enjoyable end to the group stage.
Didn't it? There's been 12 goals in the 2 games between Arsenal and Bate, so in a way it's a shame they won't meet later on just to keep the neutral excited, although I appreciate this game's a little more one-sided than the first one was. Pete, you're normally at these. You took a wise decision to not go on this occasion. Was there anything you noted from your sofa that you wanted to note?
It was much warmer on my sofa than it would have been there. I didn't have to wear long johns. And
this is all promising.
Yeah, that's about it. Really.
That's fine. It was the end.
I was pleased that I wasn't the only one who hadn't bothered. So
very much not. It's the end of the group stage. We did the job. We moved into the round of 32 in a rather imperious manner. I think that's great. We had the draw today for the round of 32, and we have drawn. And I don't know how to say this properly, so I apologise. FK Östersund, who are managed by an Englishman, Graham Potter. They were only formed in October 1996, which is the same month that Arsene Wenger took over at Arsenal, which gives you an indication. They've gone all the way up to the top flight in relatively quick time. We've never lost a match against against Swedish opposition, I'm reading here, which is interesting. That's the end of my FK Östersund's facts. We did have to wait a long time until Arsenal came out of the pot. They were in penultimate tie. Matt, anything else you'd like to add about this particular meeting?
Yeah, I'll add to your briefing pack.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I saw that they qualified as a result of coming 8th in their league. They won the cup, but I think what is going to be important, their season finished in November and doesn't start again until March. So obviously we're going to be playing them in the middle of, well, we're going to have a busy period, but they're not going to be playing. So while they'd be a bit fresher, whether they're match fit and stuff like that, I think that'll be important. And also a classic pitch and February temperatures which reach -20 doesn't sound hugely promising. I think Ozil might be ill.
Good research there. You mentioned you might do so. That was excellent. I knew about the plastic pitch. I didn't know about the temperature. That's quite something. Well, this is an interesting point, isn't it? We'll come to Pete for this one first, but I'll come back to you. It's a long way away. It's the middle of February. Those back-to-back weeks. We play away and then at home. Pete, what kind of team do you think? What's your gut say we're going to see now? Given that, let's face it, the league is probably going to be long. Well, let's face it, the league is already long gone. Top four is probably still going to be, you hope, a possibility. Given that information and given the teams we've played so far in this, what would you be leaning one way or the other at the moment in terms of the Southampton team, as an example, or the Bate team that we're more likely to see?
I think more like the Bate team. I hope anyway, because I mean I've said from the beginning I don't want us to end up like Man U last year, chasing this as a way into the Champions League. That's horrible, and put so much pressure on it that it won't be fun. It will just be horrible. So I'm quite glad we've got a team that you would hope we would be able to turn over fairly easily, and quite glad we're away first. And I think that we probably will, at least in the away game, just to see how it goes, play a reasonably reserved team for that.
It sounds, yeah. Yes, I should have mentioned that. Obviously, we could have had much tougher teams, which is no disrespect to our Swedish opponents. Matt, any thoughts on the type of team played? I tend to agree with Pete. I think it will be more of a second 11, but maybe it will depend how the first leg goes.
Yeah, I think we can afford to play more of a youth team or a reserve team in the first leg. I think Wenger's going to do well to persuade the first team players that to play in those temperatures on a plastic pitch. It also means we may well have to reconsider our views on gloves. If the temperature's that cold, we may need to be a bit more understanding. But I think we can play a weak team first leg, because if it comes to it, you back our first team to be able to win by whatever margin they needed to if the first leg goes terribly.
I think that sounds like a reasonable approach. Right, well, we will put the Europa League on the back burner then until the middle of February, when that's back on the 15th, I believe. The first game is, and let's turn back to the Premier League. So we played the stupid time of midday on Sunday away at Southampton, and we drew 1-1, and we were lucky to get that draw in some respects, given how late we got the equaliser. I've got quite a lot to say about this game, but I'm not going to monopolise it myself. Team news: Mertesacker came in for Mustafi. Mertesacker was also captain. There was no Wiltshire on the bench, but he didn't start. Other than that, it was the kind of team we would have expected. And so sit down, you get yourself ready, get ready to watch this early start, and within 3 minutes we are behind. In fact, within 10 or 11 minutes we could have been down 2 or 3 or possibly more, which sounds ridiculous, but it really wasn't. I don't know what was going on with our defence for the first few minutes. Where should we start? Pete, any thoughts about those first 10 minutes apart from sort of hiding behind the sofa?
No, that's what I was doing, and I couldn't believe it after 3 minutes. I think, without wishing to be mean, I mean, what was Mertesacker playing at in both his clearance directly to an opposition player and then falling over as he chased him towards the area, and I think it sort of gave the impression that was a very bad mistake to try and stick with the back three in a game when Mustafi was out injured, and maybe it was not the right idea to bring Mertesacker in for that.
Yep, that's the
problem, and I wouldn't wish to be too mean to him, but I mean he was clearly not ready for that game.
Well, it's an interesting point. The formation was given priority over the individuals, perhaps. Matt, those first 10 minutes. I mean, I haven't actually. I was meant to sit down today and try and work this out. I haven't. At some point, I will work out how many goals we concede in the first sort of quarter of an hour of matches. But I don't know what's going on in those first sort of 10 minutes. Any thoughts?
No, it was so bad. I almost missed the start of the match because I was asleep, and apparently I wasn't alone the way the players started. Charlie Austin was just destroying the defence. I saw Wenger say we played with an excellent spirit throughout, and it was a dodgy start to say the least. As you said, given 3 or 4-0 after 10 minutes, and through some very close offside calls and Austin not finishing all of his chances, we were just about still in the game. But after last week, you'd have think they'd been a bit of an emphasis on just being a bit solid to start with and not taking any risks. But no, absolutely not. It was probably even worse.
Well, the weird thing is, it almost wasn't that it was risks. It was that it was just when Southampton got the ball, they just seemed to be able to stroll through the midfield and cause panic in the defence. It's quite incredible. So we start behind the 8 ball basically. Then
it was good to only be 1 down after 10 minutes. That was the upside, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and that's not really the thing. You're absolutely right, and that's not the thing we should be hanging on as a supposed sort of top 4 team. But you're absolutely right. That was the only positive. Then we did the thing we always do. We came and controlled the game, but Southampton looked pretty well organised at the back. Fascinating. I didn't know this. We'd only scored before yesterday. I think was it 8 away goals in the league this year, and 5 of those were at Everton. Which is quite damning, really, in terms of the threat that we pose away from home. It was interesting. I'm going to do my little bit here. This won't be new. The idea that Arsenal had lots of possession, didn't have any penetration. We've talked about that loads of times. Everyone's talked about that. But what I think is interesting, and I think Ozil and Sanchez were particularly poor yesterday. Compare us to Man City, which I know is ridiculous in some ways, given the players Man City have and all the rest of it. But they have the same kind of thing. They'll quite often get the ball and pass it around, but there's so much more zip to the ball. It zips around and the players move around a lot. So much of the Arsenal stuff seems to be very static. It's to feet all the time. There's not a ball into space. There's not a ball behind. There's not. We looked better yesterday when we had those little darts and those little bits where all of a sudden we had a bit of a chance, rather than just having to, stand and pass, but nothing's going on. And I don't know. Comparing it to what other teams are doing, I think passing's all very well, but we're just not. There's no zip to it, and that's what it needs. It needs something different, and people they're scared to take the chance almost. Anyway, that was all I was going to go on about, and I know a lot of that is not particularly original because we've been saying it for a long time, which is why I'm so disappointed to say it again. Sorry, Pete, go on.
Particularly in the first half, that was completely missing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It improved the second half a bit, but in the first half there was, as you say, just nothing. No inspiration, nothing. We had one shot on goal, 2 possibly. Ramsey's and Lacazette, and that was it. And that the only one that was the Lacazette chance was just something he made for himself, just being able to turn very quickly and get quite shot off. Which was pretty easily saved, and the Ramsey one was which was created by Alexis, which was his only good moment of the whole game. Other than the bit we'll come to later.
Other than the bit, yeah, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, my notes about that, which were written in the first half very much. I think you're right. I think it did improve a little in the second half, but I was still not impressed. I thought Ozil and Sanchez were the most ponderous of all, really. And there's the thing about Sanchez wanting to do everything himself. Matt, am I well, not a lone voice here, but are you in agreement with me, or do you see it differently?
No, I definitely agree. We were just so slow side to side. I remember in the first half, I think we ran at their defence twice. One was straight after we conceded with Kolasinac, and he pretty much ran through all of them, showing that they were there, if we were to attack them. And the other one, Bellerin, did pretty similar, and he ran through them. But instead, we were passing side to side. It just didn't ever look dangerous. And you were talking about Sanchez. I think I read he lost the ball 32 times across the whole game, which
is staggering.
Which is horrendous, and this the second worst after his 34 last week. So he's I know he pretty much gets a free pass, and he never gets subbed. But if he was any other player performing like that, he would be subbed most games, and there'd probably be questions about whether he'd start.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, go on, Pete.
Well, I'm not sure how long he's been doing this for. I mean, it's quite a while, isn't it? But I mean, yes, anyone else would get taken off. I'm a bit unsure. I think that if this is, we've been missing the fact that this has always been the case ever since he's been at the club. But in the past, he's made up for it by scoring goals.
Yeah.
Actually, however much he risks and gives the ball away, etc. He did have a product at the end. I mean, he scored some amazing goals out of nowhere, and he just seems to have stopped doing that. He still seems to be putting all the same amount of effort in, and it's quite worrying. Is it just a complete loss of form, or what? It's very odd.
Well, again, it's a good point. Goals will cover everything, won't they? If you score enough goals. I don't know in terms of if he's been doing this previously, but you assume if he's scoring more, then he's probably not giving it away as much, so there might not have been quite the same level of error. But yeah, if you score a couple of goals a game, or a goal every other game even, no one's going to mind too much what else you do. I mean, one of the positives I thought was, possibly the only one, was Lacazette looked quite, I think, sort of continued his a role of someone who could look quite dangerous, which is good because that's what we spent lots of money on him for. Although it was an old reliable, of course, who got us back into it. So eventually Sanchez did do the other thing that was good, put a cross in, and then when you see it going towards Giroud, who'd come on, a few minutes earlier, or 10 minutes or so earlier, you almost know he's going to do just what he needs to do with that. He's going to catch that just right with his head, and then there's a little bit of luck as whether it actually drops in the net or not. And of course it did. And I just thought a word, if you like, for Giroud for just being that reliable person. I don't think him or Lacazette is the problem. I think there's other people at the problem, but it's nice that he's there to be able to do that. Matt, any thoughts on that? We desperately needed it, that's for sure.
We did, and it was, as you said, from Sanchez doing that ball, which he does so often, pretty similar one to the one which found Ramsey against United, just like dinks it in, and a great finish from Giroud, and another goal in the last minutes when we really needed him. I think I got the assist for this one, roundly abused on Twitter after suggesting there was no reason to take Lacazette off for Giroud. My problem wasn't mainly with Giroud coming on; it was Lacazette going off. But Giroud did what we needed him to do, and I mean, still 2 points dropped, but it was a point which we weren't really looking like we were going to get up until that point.
No, and it did have that little advantage of putting us back above Spurs in the table, which isn't much, given what everyone else was doing, but it was something. I mean, worth noting the other subs. Wiltshire did come on for 20 minutes, Welbeck for a similar amount of time. Neither of them did particularly much. That's it. We'll move on from the game, really, I think, because there's really not much else to say. We went behind, we had a lot of control, and then we snatched an equaliser at the death. Pete, anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
I was going to say something about Ollie.
Good. Yes, please do.
Well, there's just that he equalled Gunnar Solskjaer's record for substitute goals, and I think we're very lucky to have him. Really, we were lucky to keep him at the beginning of the season. I'm a bit worried he's really not going to be sticking around in January, and we need him to get us out of situations like this at the moment, don't we? And so I think we should count ourselves very lucky for having. He gets a lot of very bad press, but he's scored over 100 goals for Arsenal. He's stuck with us. He's coming off the bench and playing reasonably well, not always brilliantly, but he's just a top bloke. So
I think that's a very good point. I think that we don't have anyone else who can do what he can do, basically, and to have that ability is, as you say, very important. Yeah, January is going to be very interesting as to whether he stays or, because obviously there's World Cup next summer to think about. Him and a number of other players. I mean, Alexis and Ozil, they're obviously, there's other stuff going on there. We're not expecting them to stay after the summer. We're told they're going to stay in January, but let's face it, let's see what happens. To be honest, if someone offered me a couple of quid for them after that game on Sunday, I think we might be tempted to take it. But all right, then we'll move on because those are the last week's games sorted out. In terms of the rest of the Premier League, well, Chelsea lost at West Ham. Liverpool also dropped points, drawn with Everton. Man United obviously lost at home to City yesterday, which Mourinho took with good grace, as ever. The stories today about the fighting in the tunnel are rather amusing. Very sad that Mikel Arteta's handsomely crafted eyebrows have been injured, it seems, but
the hair's still good.
It would take more than a bottle of milk or whatever it might have been to damage that, I hope. And of course, Spurs had a very comfortable home win against Stoke. All that means is that Man City are way in the distance at the top of the league. Then it's United on 35, Chelsea 32, Liverpool 30, us 29, Spurs 28, and of course Burnley 28. We shouldn't forget. So we've actually pulled a point ahead of Burnley now after all of that. So there we go. Right.
There was just something else about the game I'd like to cover.
Oh, please do.
Actually, because obviously I was quite bored watching it, so I decided to look at clothing instead.
Of course.
As you know, I hate that blue kit,
Yes.
and really, really never want to see it again. Will we ever win in it? I mean, it's just really, really unpleasant. Please stop. Gloves, we lost 4-0.
4-0. Wow.
4-0. And also Steve Bould's hat. He seemed to have put it on in a way that managed the crest to be upside.
I noticed this.
Upside down?
Yeah. Yes.
How the hell do you do that?
No idea, but I think it was a very bad sign.
I hadn't even noticed, but that obviously obviously you're completely right to notice that. That sounds like a completely the reason for the only getting away with the point.
As assistant manager, I think you should know better.
That's poor, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. What else do assistant managers do? If they can't get their hats on right, they might as well not bother. All right, great. Well, predictions then and previews. So, none of us got any points for the Southampton games. We all said we'd win, and we all got a point each for the Bate game because we said we'd win, but no one got the score absolutely right. Pete was closest with 4-1, but that's,
Do I get an extra point
No,
for that?
no, you don't. Not just for being the closest. Our problem is, you see, we tend to all think Arsenal are going to win, but we don't get the scores right. But Matt has done that little better than the rest of us. He still remains at the top, 3 points ahead of me, who is a point ahead of Pete. Right. So this week we start. It's another 2 Premier League game week. So we are away at West Ham on Wednesday and at home to Newcastle on Saturday. I've already put my predictions in the spreadsheet, but I won't go first. I will go to Matt first for... What should we do? Let's do them both at the same time, if you like. So a word about West Ham and a prediction, and the same for Newcastle, please, Matt.
Yep. Just in time, West Ham have found some form. They were pretty good against Chelsea. I think importantly is going to be Ramsey's injury. He limped for the last 15 minutes because we had no more subs. He could hardly walk, and Wenger said he's got a bit of a hamstring injury. Hopefully that's not too serious because he's probably been one of our best players the last few weeks. Our away form really worries me. I think we lost the last 12 of our last 20 in the league, which is abysmal. I fear West Ham's fans and team are going to be up for this after this weekend. But through blind faith, I will go for 3-2 Arsenal.
3-2, okay.
Woof.
I don't like the look of our defence one bit, but I think theirs is also suspect. And then I forgot who played
Newcastle at home on Saturday.
No, well, these seem like much more enjoyable circumstances at home on a Saturday. Newcastle look awful. 4-0 Arsenal.
4-0, let's say. The second time you've predicted 4-0 this season in the league. There we go.
Yes.
You predicted it 4 times overall. There we are. That's exciting for you. Right.
Have any of them come true?
No, you got a point every time in the previous 3, but no, we haven't managed to get 4. One of them was, for example, you predicted 4-0 against Doncaster, and we only won 1-0. But that's fair enough. I think given the circumstances. Okay, so a 3-2 and a 4-0. That would be a lovely week if that happened. Pete, what do you think? West Ham first.
I can't believe that Matt's gone for a win against West Ham in an away game. You manager. But I'm going to have to do the same. It is a real worry about Ramsey, and goodness knows what we do about that if it does turn into a long-term problem. But maybe we can survive one game against a team who, they seem to have recovered their form a bit in the last couple of games, but before that they were appalling. So, they're not happy at the London Stadium, so I think that might be where we have some form of advantage. That it's one away game that we might possibly just struggle to get through. So I shall go 2-1.
2-1, okay. To Arsenal, I assume, yes.
To Arsenal, yes.
And Newcastle then. Are you at this one on Saturday?
I am indeed, and I can only hope we continue not our last home game, but our home record before the Man U game. And I think 4-0 is a bit optimistic, but one would hope we'll beat them fairly easily. 3-1.
3-1, interesting, because I've gone for exactly the same score against Newcastle. I don't know why particularly. I think we have that excellent home record, as you've alluded to, apart from the United game. I think we can score. I've put the 1 there because I don't trust our defence very much at the moment, which is odd when you look. We've kept clean sheets against Spurs and Burnley and Huddersfield in recent memory, and of course Bate, but that's a slightly different kettle of fish. So I think we, who knows, we might let one sneak in at a set piece or something, but I think 3-1 I'm reasonably happy with. For the West Ham away, I was out on Saturday and had missed completely the fact that West Ham had beaten Chelsea until much later on, which sort of took me by surprise a little bit. I don't think lightning will strike twice. I think the London Stadium's not good for them. We beat them handily last year, didn't we, if I remember, away, very comfortably. So maybe I had that in my head. So I've just gone for a 2-0 to Arsenal. Again, always erring on the side of optimism, but I hope that'll be all right. I mean, the other note I made yesterday, after being somewhat disappointed, shall we say, with our performance in the Southampton game, was I wonder if we should just try the second 11, i.e. the Europa League team, in some of these games. Because, although with 24 hours having passed now, I don't feel quite the same, but I just saw a lot more in that Bate game, for example, against admittedly poor opposition, than I saw yesterday. So I'd like to see perhaps some of those players given a bit more chance in the first team, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
I think with the West Ham game, the team will change a bit for that anyway, won't it? Surely we won't play Koscielny 3 games in a week again, so surely he'll drop out of that one. And that will be an interesting change to the defence, I think. And without Ramsey, we've got to do something, haven't we? So I think, maybe there will be more changes than just those 2.
Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, I think, I don't think they're going to change the whole team lock stock, much as I might have thought of that yesterday. But it'd be interesting to see what changes there are. But particularly and I'd completely forgotten about that, the Ramsey injury, which hopefully they'll be careful with him, because we could certainly, he's been one of our better players, I think, this season, certainly in recent games. So let's hope we can keep him fit, or fit-ish at least. Because actually, the whole fitness thing's been quite interesting, hasn't it? We've done a better job, it seems, this year than we've done in previous seasons. We don't seem to have, Santi Cazorla aside, we don't seem to have that lengthy injury list that we've had in previous years. So something seems to be being achieved, which is good.
Chad is starting to work.
It seems that something's working, isn't it? Whether it's that or black magic or something. It work. I don't mind, really, as long as it's working. That's fine. Now we just need to change the performances. Right. Well, on that note, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back next week to discuss those 2 and look ahead to another West Ham game. Plenty of West Ham action over the next couple of weeks. But until then, I will say thank you very much, Pete.
Thanks, Matt, and see you next week.
Thank you very much, Pete. And Matt V, we'll see you then too.
Thank you. Look forward to joining you both after Andy Carroll scored 4 off the bench.
Andy Carroll, there we are, there's a thought. And on that cheery note, thank you very much for listening, and we'll speak to you again next week. Take care, bye-bye.